Evening, folks. I was just getting all the information I could, all the evidence I could about this case versus Miss Officer. It ain't right calling him Mister, and I ain't gonna call him Mister. If you want somebody to call him Mister, go to that racist ass corrupt DA. Have him call him Mister. Officer Rolfe. From what I hear now, his partner Officer Bronson, never said that he was fixing to turn state witness, so that's a lie. So not only do we have a corrupt DA that doesn't even wait for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, to give him the report of what really went on. He lying now. On top of that, get this, okay? I thought they had video of Officer Rolfe kicking the crap out of Mr. Brooks on the ground. They do not have video. They have still shots. He might have been stepping over that man doing whatever. You know, running to him or running around or whatever. But, I mean, honestly, let's be real. Let's all just be real with ourselves right here. If he tased me, I'd kick the shit out of him too. And you know I would. And I doubt if that other officer was standing on his shoulder, he was probably trying to push his shoulder down without having to touch him, because I wouldn't trust putting my hips and my weapons near that fool either. So yeah, I probably use my foot too. Like, if you gonna grab something, you gonna grab my shoelace. Because we already seen what he capable of. Anyway, I'm not gonna be all ugly about this. I'm gonna just get real on the evidence, okay, folks? But yeah, personally, I would have kicked the shit out of him too. And matter of fact, I would have kicked the shit out of his mama too, for having such an ingrate. Okay, the evidence I found so far really makes me feel confident in saying this officer is innocent. I mean, I felt that way before, but I am like 100% confident. And not much is going to sway my confidence unless some kind of surprise hello evidence comes out. Okay? So let's take it from there. I found out that Mr. Brooks, that's the victim, quote, criminal, he was out on bail when this happened. And it was from a thing where he held innocent kids and a woman hostage. Well, they don't want to say hostage, they say against their will. You know, but that's hostage. Okay, let's just get real. He held them hostage, whether it was his baby mama and his kids or not. It don't matter if you done, slept with dude and he holds you hostage, it's still holding you hostage. Period. So on top of that, then we go to the video. Now, as we all know, Robo doesn't play other videos on her damn YouTube. So if you want to see the video, go Google the video. Get the one that has the 48 minutes, the whole video, so you understand what I'm talking about. Now, the first 41 minutes and 17 seconds that the DA was talking about, yes, Mr. Brooks was cordial. Mr. Brooks was happy, whatever, jovial, whatever. But at the point where it crossed over to 41 and 18, or 17, close to there, that's when they said, okay, you know what? You stink of alcohol. You're over the limit of alcohol, and you've been drinking too much to be driving. And Mr. Brooks said, well, why don't you just let me walk home? And they were like, nah, bruh. Now, what people don't know is Mr. Brooks also had been in jail for a DUI. Okay? And people don't want to talk about the history of criminals. But when you go to court, the judge gonna look at your history. He's gonna look at your history. He's gonna say, no. You committed this crime like 100 times now, and you still ain't learned your lesson. Now I gotta get hardcore with you. Okay? So we need to get real about this. This man was trying not to go back to jail. And so when they said, no, you're going to be arrested, you're going to be put back behind bars, that's when all hell broke loose, and Mr. Brooks was fighting with the officers. Okay? He punched one of them in their face, and then he took one of their tasers and tried to shoot him in the head with it. That we could see from the video. Okay? And we could also hear the cops say, stop, you're going to get tased, stop. And he kept on. Now, let's go further into this video. Then, from what I hear, because after that you can't see much except for the sky, but you could hear the crack of a taser, and then you could hear 3 gunshots. Now, this is my problem. I don't like not knowing what's happening, because from what they're saying, it's like, man, that's messed up. That's messed up. But when we get the other video going, because there's another video where it shows Mr. Brooks running. The cops are in pursuit. Mr. Rolfe, or Officer Rolfe, and Officer Bronson are in pursuit. And this is where it gets hairy. They say it's murder, but the simple fact that Mr. Brooks turned around and shot behind him at the officers scrubs the whole murder charge. That is now self-defense according to Georgia law, according to Tennessee law, according to Alabama law, according to Florida law, according to any other law that you could find in a non-liberal state. Let's get real. Now, my thing is this. A lot of people are saying, yeah, but a taser isn't a deadly weapon. That's what the DA said. And if you look back 2 weeks, okay, when there were the protests and the riots and everything, you look back 2 weeks, not even that, maybe like 8, 9 days. Anyway, you look back to there, and you will see that 6 cops got charged by that same DA for assault. And they pointed a taser at the protesters, and the DA said they were threatening the protesters with a deadly weapon. So how is it, folks, that first it was a deadly weapon when it's pointed at protesters by the cops, but then it becomes a non-deadly weapon when it's pointed at cops by a criminal. Can we say corruption and criminal sympathizing there? Oh, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Robo, don't go there. Don't go there. And have you noticed that the DA is black? And all the quote-unquote victims are black? And all the cops are white? Racist much? Methinks no, not much. Yes, much too much. But as per the evidence, it shows that the officer handled himself in a proper manner, according to the law, according to what the DA previously said was a deadly weapon. So now him changing his little tune makes you kind of wonder if the DA sympathizes with criminals. And if so, should he be the DA? But that's for another video. Like I said, this video is going to be short and sweet. If you watch the video of what happened, I'm pretty sure that when they said that Officer Rolfe was kicking the criminal, Mr. Brooks, I'm sure he was probably moving the taser with his foot or nudging the body to make sure that he was responsive. Also, I want to stop you guys from thinking that they just let him die. That's also wrong, and that's a lie. Because right after you see in the videos him nudging Mr. Brooks with his foot, and then that whole still shot of Officer Rolfe rearing back to kick the shit out of him, supposedly, he runs back over there to give him CPR, and that was in less than a minute. I'm not going to tell y'all what to think, but I'm going to tell you what I think. I think the mayor, the DA, and the police chief are cowards. Number one, the police chief quit, resigned when this happened, because apparently she did not have the gonads to stick up for her people. So that's cowardice to me. Number two, the mayor is a coward, because the mayor is sitting there allowing the DA to press charges against an innocent man. Officer Rolfe did nothing wrong. He did exactly what any of us would have done. And excuse me, but I do believe that when you're running away and you're still shooting over your shoulder or around the side, like Mr. Brooks was, it still constitutes you're a danger. And granted, somebody said, well, the taser could only shoot twice, so what's the problem here? Why didn't they just let him have the taser? Number one, because that's not his taser. That is the officer's taser. And the officer is responsible for that taser. And what if, after this happened, Mr. Brooks decides to go and commit a crime with the officer's taser. A lot of people have said, well, why didn't he just shoot him in the leg? Okay, let's take that scenario. Officer Rolfe is full of adrenaline. He points down to shoot him in the leg that is running and moving. He ends up shooting and hits the car because Mr. Brooks moved his leg. And then he ends up accidentally hitting him in the femoral artery. Same thing would happen. Except for bleeding out sucks. I only know that from what I've heard. I don't know that personally. I've never bled out. But the fact of the matter is, yes, it was a horrible occurrence. But no, Officer Rolfe and Officer Bronson were not in the wrong. No, Mr. Brooks didn't need to die, but Mr. Brooks was responsible for his own death. Because if he would have just said, okay, and put his hands behind his back, and took it like a man, he wouldn't be dead now. But no, he had to fight with officers. He had to take their taser. He had to try and tase the officers. He had to punch them in the face. He ran from them and then shot behind him with the taser, which if you look at the video, it looks like one of the taser barbs hits Officer Rolfe. And so if he would have pulled the trigger, Officer Rolfe would have been incapacitated. Now there's another story about tasers that I just heard from one of the people I watch on YouTube. A cop pulls over somebody for DUI. This person tussles with the cop, takes his taser, shoots the cop with the taser, incapacitates him, reaches in, grabs the cop's gun, and shoots the cop with the gun, and then gets in his car and drives off. I don't know if the cop is okay. I'm hoping that that's how the story went, that the cop was okay and they went and caught the, criminal and the bad guy, and he got arrested and charged with attempted murder. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking this whole thing could have been avoided if Mr. Brooks would have stood there like a man and faced him being arrested like a man would. Now, of course, you're going to see another video where it's Mr. Brooks saying, well, I'm going to just keep on keeping on till I make it and whatever and blase, blase. And, oh, that's such a powerful statement. And, the DA says he was a victim of the system. Oh, no, wait, that was the mayor of Inglewood that said that. Victim of the system, trapped in the probation system. And yet Inglewood is one of the most crime-ridden cities in America, nonetheless California. And even though that guy, the mayor of Inglewood now, agrees that the cop is innocent, he still needs to stop promoting the narrative that Mr. Brooks was in the right. He was not a victim. He was a criminal. The cops, Mr. Brooks assaulted that night. Officer Rolfe and Officer Bronson became victims because of his actions. And Mr. Brooks played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. He put his own life in jeopardy. And me personally, I'm doing what I can to help the officers. I made a petition to send to the White House on the White House petitions. And I already know President Trump doesn't agree with how the cops were treated. And thinks it was a bad thing that Mr. Brooks died. And it's sad that Mr. Brooks died. I could agree to that. However, he brought it upon himself. And as the evidence proves, they're hoping the evidence would prove that Officer Rolfe was in the wrong. It proves Mr. Brooks' actions led to his own death. And that it was completely and totally on him. So to Officer Rolfe and Officer Bronson and all the officers on the Atlanta PD and everywhere else, I beg you, don't be mad at them for too long. You know, we law-abiding citizens, we could hold it down for a while. But don't be mad at them for too long. Because we're the ones that's going to suffer for their stupidity. And that's what other people that believe the way I do don't realize. The stupidity that's going on. The hurt and the anguish that officers are going through right now. And them walking off the job and calling in sick isn't funny. Well, it is funny, but it isn't funny for too long because we're going to suffer. Please, I beg of you, officers, understand that many of us law-abiding citizens, we don't agree with what's going on. And we do care, and we do love and support you. So please, when you're able, when you're done being angry, remember us, the ones who need you to keep those criminals away from us. Of course, the cities and the governor and everybody else isn't going to care. Because, hey, they've got personal security. So, wow, cops. Okay. It's going to be us that suffer. It's going to be children that suffer. We need you. So yeah, walk off the job for a month. Just let me know because I want to be loaded for bear. Teach them what intricate part of society you play. But please don't do it for too long. Because in essence, they'll never learn. And we're the only ones that are going to be punished by it. To Officer Rolfe and Officer Bronson, I hope this message gets to you. There are tons of people that support you, and we truly care. And we truly know that you're innocent. Don't let this shit get you down. When you feel down, when you feel like it's you against the world, it's not. We just do things the legal way, and you know what that entails. It means there's a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are moving. I have a petition going. I have already contacted the president via the White House. I have already filed formal charges for corruption with the DOJ. But it's going to take a while. Keep your chins up. Know that we love you and we support you. And please, I know you're angry, but don't leave us out in the cold for too long. We need you. They don't need you because they're criminals. We do. The evidence and facts in the case show that Officer Rolfe and Officer Bronson did no wrong. The facts and the evidence in the whole thing shows that the DA is a damn liar and he's trying to get reelected by pandering. The facts in the case, the evidence in the case, show that the mayor, the DA, and the police chief are cowards. And it also shows that Mr. Brooks, his actions led to his death. And that's real with Robo.